She dialed the wrong number at 11:47 p.m., and the man who answered had been searching for her for 4 years. She didn't know that yet. She didn't know much of anything in that moment, only that the stairwell of St. Vincent's Hospital smelled like cold concrete, that her feet hurt, and that the paper in her scrubs pocket had been damp since Tuesday. The number on it was for a pediatric specialist. She'd been trying to reach them for 6 weeks. This, 11:47 on a Thursday, on the third-floor landing of a hospital that never fully went quiet, was the only 45 seconds she'd had all day. She dialed. 2 rings. A man answered. "Cole." His voice was low, contained. The voice of someone who had learned, a long time ago, not to waste inflection on things that didn't deserve it. Mara frowned at the paper in her hand. The ink had bled at the edges. The 7 and the 1 looked nearly the same. "I'm sorry. Is this Halbrook Pediatric Associates?" A pause. Brief. Precise. No. She'd misdialed. The 1 was a 7. "I'm so sorry. Wrong number entirely. Sorry to bother you." She was already moving to end the call. "Wait." The word landed quietly, almost reluctantly, like it surprised him too. "You're a nurse," he said. It wasn't a question. Mara stopped moving. "How did you—" "The way you apologized, like someone who's used to making things right quickly and moving on." A brief pause. "I recognize it." She should have hung up. She had 12 minutes before the next assessment round, a son at home, a schedule tight enough to tear. She said she needed to let him go. He said, "Of course." She ended the call. She went back to her floor. She did not think about the voice again until 3 a.m., when the night had that particular texture, the kind that brings things to the surface that usually stay down. His voice stayed with her. She didn't know why. She didn't know yet that the man on the other end had been carrying a piece of paper with her name on it for 4 years, that his search, quiet and patient and relentless, had just ended in a hospital stairwell. The phone rang again at 6:58 the next morning. "Same number," she answered. He called back at 6:58 the next morning. Mara almost didn't answer. She was at the kitchen counter in yesterday's scrubs, watching Theo explain to a cereal box why his modifications to its side flap were structurally superior. Theo did this. She had stopped questioning it. The phone rang 4 times. On the 5th, Theo looked up. "It really wants to talk to you, Mom," she answered. "You called back," she said. "I did," he said. "I'm not entirely sure why." His name was Harrison. First name only, the way you offer something small when you're unsure how much is safe. She told him hers. Mara. That was how it started. 14 mornings, 11 minutes the second day, 14 the third. She told herself it was nothing, a stranger, a wrong number that had corrected itself into something she didn't yet have a word for. He asked questions like someone genuinely listening for the answer instead of preparing his next sentence. What was hardest about overnight shifts? Why pediatric nursing? Was she always this direct, or was that the job? Both, she said. The job removed the option to be otherwise. That's the honest version, he said. It's the only version I keep anymore. A pause. I know what that costs, he said quietly. He didn't explain. She didn't ask. There was something in the way he said it that asked to be left alone. What she didn't know. 4 years earlier, Harrison Cole's younger sister Anna died in a hospital fire on the Upper East Side. Routine procedure. The evacuation failed. She didn't get out. Harrison arrived too late. He stood in that lobby and understood for the first time what grief feels like when it arrives without warning. No illness, no slow decline. Just a Tuesday that split his life into before and after. Days later, a nurse delivered a handwritten note to his family attorney. One folded page. I was with her. She was not afraid. She asked me to make sure you knew. Mara, he had read it hundreds of times. 2 investigators. 4 years. The name alone, Mara, had never been enough, until a 7 looked like a 1. He hadn't told her yet, but every morning the phone rang at 6:58, and every morning she answered, and for the first time in years, something felt like it was moving in the right direction. He just didn't know they were already standing at the same door. The calls kept coming. But so did everything else. Here is what Mara Ellison's life looked like in the months before that wrong number changed everything. January. A formal complaint was filed against her at Mercy General Hospital, the place she had worked for 6 years, the floor she knew better than her own apartment. The allegation: wrong dosage on a pediatric patient, falsified records to cover it. It was not true. The chart was clear. The timeline was clear. Anyone willing to read it without a conclusion already formed would have seen that immediately. The investigation took 9 weeks. Mara was placed on administrative leave. She kept showing up to the building the first week, not because she was allowed inside, but because she didn't know what to do with herself anywhere else. The security desk had to remind her, gently, that she couldn't come in. She was cleared of the falsification charge. She was not cleared of the dosage allegation. The board found it. And this is the word they used, delivered in a tone designed to sound neutral, inconclusive. That word lives in a professional file the way a splinter lives in a finger. Invisible. Until someone presses. She was terminated anyway. The hospital called it a professional separation, a phrase designed to make a catastrophe sound like weather. 2 days later, Brandon Voss called. She hadn't spoken to him in 6 years, not since she told him she was pregnant, and he replied 3 days later, by text. I don't think I'm in the right place for this. She had never responded. She had never asked him for a single thing. Now he wanted to help. He did not mean help. He said he wanted to be involved in Theo's life. What that actually meant, her attorney Carla explained 3 weeks later, was partial custody, which restructured child support calculations, which saved him money. It was arithmetic dressed as fatherhood. Mara said no. He filed anyway. His attorney was Stuart Gilman, Lexington Avenue. Reputation for winning cases other people had already conceded. Mara had Carla Torres, South Bronx, sliding scale, 47 active cases, and a genuine belief in Mara's situation that could not fully compensate for the imbalance in resources. This is what the system looked like from Mara's side. She was not losing because she was wrong. She was losing because losing is what happens when the truth hasn't found its moment yet. It hadn't found it, but it was coming. It was the 14th morning. She was charting at the nurse's station when the phone rang at 6:58, right on time, the way it always was now. She had stopped pretending she wasn't looking forward to it. I need to tell you something, Harrison said. No greeting, no warm-up. Just that. Tell me, she said. A silence, the kind that has weight. 4 years ago, my younger sister Anna died in a hospital fire on the Upper East Side. She was 31. Routine procedure. The evacuation failed. Mara stopped writing. In the days after, when I could read things, A nurse delivered a handwritten note to my family's attorney. 1 page. I'd like to read it to you, if that's all right. She didn't know why her hands had gone completely still. Read it, she said. He did, slowly. Like a man who has read something so many times, the words have become a weight he carries differently. Not lighter, but more familiar. I was with her. We talked about the summer she spent in Maine. She wanted you to know she thought about it at the end. She was not frightened. She asked me to make sure you knew. She said, tell him I wasn't afraid. Tell him the last thing I felt was the same thing I always feel when I think about the people I love. She was remarkable. I'm so sorry. Mara. The silence on her end lasted longer than any before it. She recognized it. Not the story. Not Anna's name. Not the fire. She recognized the handwriting. She recognized the words, because she had written them. Anna Cole, she said, very quietly, the way you say something out loud before you can fully believe it. Yes, he said. She had your eyes, Mara said. She talked about you the entire time. She said, he's going to be devastated, but he's stronger than he knows. She said it twice, like she needed me to hold it exactly. Harrison didn't speak. He pressed his hand flat against his desk. Because the woman he had been searching for, 4 years, 2 investigators, sealed records, dead ends, had been on the other end of a wrong number. She had been there all along. And then Mara said something that changed everything all over again. Harrison, was there a second page in that envelope? A pause. No, he said. There was only one. I sent 2, she said. Silence. Someone removed it before it reached you. The call came on a Tuesday morning at 8:17. Not from Harrison, from Carla. Sit down, Carla said. Mara was already standing at the kitchen counter making Theo's lunch. She sat down on the floor. Not dramatically, just because the floor was closer to the ground than standing, and some news requires you to be closer to the ground. Your father, Carla said. Robert Ellison. He set up a trust before he passed. Mara frowned. I know about the trust. It went to my mother for, not that one, Carla said. A second one, filed in Cook County in 2019, through an estate attorney in Chicago. The beneficiary structure specifies biological grandchildren of Robert James Ellison, upon proof of parentage, present value approximately $800,000. Silence. I didn't know that existed, Mara said. I believe you, Carla said. Your father structured it so neither you nor your mother would be automatically notified. The trustee is a bank. Notification only triggers when a grandchild's legal guardian makes a formal claim. Mara set down Theo's sandwich. Theo is his only grandchild, she said. Yes, Carla said. And here is the problem. She explained it slowly, the way you explain something to someone who is going to need a moment. Brandon's custody filing included a standard paternity acknowledgement motion, language Mara's attorney had flagged as routine. It wasn't routine. It was precise, because in the state where that trust was filed, legal guardian status activates the trustee notification. Which means if Brandon obtained even partial custody of Theo, he could access the trust, Mara said. He could direct distributions, influence them. The trust is not structured to exclude an active legal guardian with family court standing. Mara sat on the kitchen floor and did not move. Her father had set aside $800,000, quietly, without telling anyone, as an act of pure love for a grandchild he would never meet. And Brandon Voss had found it. He hadn't filed for custody because he wanted his son. He had filed because he wanted his son's inheritance. Every dollar spent on attorneys, every fabricated report, every coached witness, every carefully timed legal move, it was all an investment, with an $800,000 return waiting at the finish line. Mara looked at Theo's sandwich on the counter. She thought about her father. Then she picked up the phone and called Harrison. Priya Nath arrived on a Wednesday evening with two things: a container of her mother's lentil soup and a manila envelope she had been holding for 8 months. She set the soup on the counter first. Then she placed the envelope on the kitchen table, carefully, the way you set down something that has weight beyond its size, and she sat across from Mara without speaking for a moment. "I need to show you something," Priya said. "And I need you to know I've been waiting for the right moment. Tonight is the right moment." She opened the envelope. Inside, 7 pages, printed email chains. On one side, a personal account belonging to Sandra Peck, the colleague who had filed the complaint that ended Mara's career at Mercy General. On the other side, a business address registered to DeVos Consulting, LLC. Mara read the first page. Her hands did not shake. She had trained them, over 6 years of emergency medicine, not to shake when things got bad. But something behind her eyes went very still. The emails were specific. They outlined the exact language Sandra's complaint should use. They named 2 nurses described as, and these were the words, cooperative, see separate communication. They specified the timing. They specified the target. Mara's name appeared 13 times across 7 pages. "How did you get these?" she asked. "Sandra left her laptop in the break room when she went on leave," Priya said. "The recovery account was linked to her hospital email, flagged as a security risk by IT. I filed an official security report. The backup review followed." A pause. "I am not a forensic investigator, but I am very patient." Mara looked up from the pages. "Priya, you were the best nurse on that floor," Priya said, "and he used every institution available to take you apart. I was not going to let that stand without a record." Gloria appeared in the doorway with her reading glasses on, her signal for things that required full attention. Mara set the pages down flat on the table. The complaint against her had not been a complaint. It had been a purchase. Sandra Peck had been paid $15,000. And every word of that transaction was right here in black and white. 8 months inside a manila envelope, waiting for exactly this moment. The interim custody hearing was on a Thursday in November. Mara wore the good blazer, hands flat on the table, breathing slow, the way she'd learned in emergency rooms. Present. Stuart Gilman was everything she had expected. Polished, unhurried, the kind of attorney who makes precision look effortless, the way expensive things present themselves when they've never had to justify their price. He presented the CPS report first, filed 3 months earlier on an anonymous tip, a report Mara had never been formally notified about. The report documents concerns about the minor child's environment, Gilman said, voice like a conference room. Financial instability, working conditions that limit parental availability, an incident in which the child was transported to a medical facility without adequate adult supervision. Mara wrote on her legal pad, "Theo had an ear infection. I drove him. That is not unsupervised." Carla put her hand on Mara's wrist. Then Brandon took the stand. He sat the way he sat everywhere, like the room had been arranged for him. Navy suit, measured concern. He spoke about wanting to be present in Theo's life. The bedroom in Scarsdale. Stability. Resources. He did not mention the trust fund. Judge Reeves listened with the attention of a man who has already decided. Mara noticed. Carla noticed. The judge called a 2-week recess, not a ruling. More time and a process already costing Mara everything. She walked out into November cold. Gloria was on the courthouse steps. She didn't speak. She put her hand on Mara's shoulder blade. The physical grammar of, "We're still here." The same gesture since Mara was 11. Mara called Harrison from the car. First ring. Always. "How bad?" he asked. "The judge is wrong," she said. "I don't know how yet, but something is wrong with him." "I know," Harrison said. She went still. "What do you mean, you know?" "Elaine found something this morning. I didn't want it in your head before you walked in." A pause. Judge Reeves. His name is on the donor list for 3 Voss real estate projects. There's a matching grant, 2 months after his case assignment, from a Brandon Voss Foundation. "That's a conflict of interest," she said. "The beginning of one. Elaine needs 2 more pieces. She's working tonight." Mara sat in the car for 4 minutes. Then she drove home to Theo, who took one look at her face and slid the good cereal across the table without being asked. She ate cereal at 6 p.m. It was the best thing she'd had all week. The retired attorney was named Philip Garner. He lived in Sarasota, Florida. Waterview, quiet street. A conscience that had been carrying something heavy for 4 years. Harrison's investigator found him in 48 hours. The call happened on a Tuesday evening. Harrison stood in his study, the city spread behind the glass. Garner picked up on the second ring. "I kept the second page," he said. No preamble. The voice of a man who had been waiting for exactly this call. "I've known for 4 years that I shouldn't have." Harrison let the silence hold. "Your cousin Marcus contacted me before the envelope reached you," Garner said. "The secondary estate provisions in your family trust had clauses tied to documented terminal circumstance. Anna's words, authenticated by the attending nurse, would have constituted that documentation. Certain distributions Marcus stood to receive would have been disputed." A pause. "He asked me to hold the page for additional legal review. I told myself it was standard practice." A longer pause. "I have told myself that for 4 years." "Send me the page," Harrison said. "I'm sending it today. It should have reached you the week she died." Garner's voice had the texture of a rehearsed confession. "There is no word that works for what I owe you." "No," Harrison said. "There isn't." The page arrived by courier the next morning. Harrison read it alone, standing. City still dark outside. Anna's handwriting filled the margin. Careful loops he would know anywhere. Below it, Mara's handwriting. A nurse's hand. Precise and tired and completely steady. Anna's exact words. Written down because she had asked someone to hold them carefully. And that someone had. "Harrison, you have spent your whole life managing things. Grief, work, me. Stop. Let something good happen to you. You will be scared. Do it anyway. I love you. I am not afraid. Look for the quiet things, the ones that stay." He stood at his desk until the light changed. Then he called Mara. "Are you okay?" she asked. "Yes," he said. A pause. "Is that the truth?" He considered it honestly. "I'm working toward it," he said. "That's the honest version," she said softly. In his coat pocket, pressed flat against the lining, a small folded drawing of a sparrow. Theo had given it to him 3 weeks ago. He hadn't moved it since. Anna had told him to look for the quiet things. He was beginning to understand what she meant. The subpoena landed on a Monday, not on Brandon, not yet. On Gerald Fetch, private investigator. 12 years working for the Voss family, professionally flexible in ways Elaine Sue described, without inflection, as constituting documentable liability. Elaine had found him through the civil subpoena filed in connection with the trust fraud motion. His engagement records, 4 years, 15 investigations for Diane Voss. 3 overlapped precisely with the timeline of Mara's case. Elaine presented the findings on a Wednesday morning. Park Avenue office, Manhattan behind the glass, Mara and Carla across the long table. The first investigation, Elaine said, was a comprehensive background review of Mara Ellison, begun in January, 4 months before Brandon filed for custody. Mara looked at the date. 4 months before Brandon filed. 4 months before Sandra's complaint. 4 months before any of it. Diane Voss funded it directly, Elaine continued. Gerald Fetch's billing records show payment from her personal accounts. Not Brandon's. Hers. She turned a page. The second engagement. Payments routed through D. Voss Consulting LLC to Sandra Peck. $15,000. Dated 3 weeks before the complaint against you was filed at Mercy General. Carla made a note without looking up. The third, Elaine said, was a CPS tip filed from a commercial address registered to a Voss family real estate holding, the same anonymous tip Gilman used at the interim hearing. Silence. Mara looked at the pages in front of her. 3 investigations. 3 weapons. All of them built and funded by a 67-year-old woman in Westchester who had decided, 6 months before Brandon made a single call, that Mara Ellison needed to be taken apart. She architected this, Mara said. Yes, Elaine said. Brandon executed. His mother planned every step before he engaged Gilman. She identified the trust. She funded the investigation into your record. She paid Sandra. She filed the CPS tip. A pause. She built the entire machine. Her father had left $800,000 as an act of quiet love. Diane Voss had spent months engineering that love into a trap. Are they both exposed? Carla asked. Significantly, Elaine said. And one more thing. She slid a document across the table. A state fraud investigation into Brandon Voss's real estate transactions became active 6 weeks ago. The DA's office contacted us this morning. She looked at Mara. He has problems considerably larger than this custody case. Mara exhaled. Not relief. Not yet. But the first breath in months that didn't feel like it might be the last one she could afford. It was not planned. Gloria had a dentist appointment she couldn't move. The backup babysitter canceled. So Theo came to what was supposed to be a quiet coffee meeting on the Upper West Side. Mara told him in the cab, "We're meeting a friend. His name is Harrison. He lost someone he loved. We are going to be kind." Theo thought about it. "Is he the one who makes your voice different?" Theo asked. Mara looked out the window. "I don't know what you mean." Theo nodded, filing the denial for later. The cafe was warm, October light, wood tables. Harrison was already there. He stood when they came in. The stillness she'd heard over the phone translated in person into something real. A man who had learned not to take up space carelessly. He saw Theo. He crouched to his level. Immediately. Without making anything of it. "You must be Theo," he said. Theo ran his full structural evaluation. "Your tie is wrong," Theo said. Harrison looked down at his tie. Navy, perfectly straight. Wrong how? It's a desk tie. You're not at a desk. Harrison glanced at Mara. She gave him nothing. His test. His grade. He loosened the tie and tucked it in his pocket without a word. Theo nodded. Better. They sat. Theo interrogated the server about the chocolate-to-milk ratio with the patience of a structural engineer, reviewing load specs. Then he turned fully to Harrison. Do you know how bridges work? Somewhat. Which part? Load distribution. I built a footbridge upstate once. Did it fall? Eventually. Theo considered this carefully. That's okay. Things can fall if you learned something first. Harrison looked at Mara. She kept her face still, but her chest did the thing it always did when Theo was completely himself in front of someone she cared about, and it was going exactly right. Later, quietly, Harrison said, "He's like you." How? He says the true thing without deciding first whether it's convenient. Before they left, Theo reached into his pocket. A small pencil sparrow, slightly crumpled from being carried all morning. "I think this is for you," he said, handing it to Harrison. Harrison held it the way you hold something you immediately understand is important. "Sparrows are good luck," Theo said. "Full conviction. Zero evidence required." Harrison folded the drawing and placed it carefully in his coat pocket. He kept it there for weeks. Mara noticed. She didn't say a word. But she noticed. Elaine Sue filed the recusal motion on a Monday morning at 9 a.m. 43 pages. Evidentiary brief. Filed simultaneously with a formal complaint to the New York State Commission on Judicial Conduct. The brief documented 3 things. Judge Malcolm Reeves's name on the donor lists of 3 Voss real estate projects spanning 4 years. A matching grant received 2 months after his assignment to Mara's case from a Brandon Voss-affiliated nonprofit. A pattern of indirect financial contact that Elaine described in the conclusion as a clear conflict of interest requiring immediate recusal. By 2 p.m. that afternoon, Judge Reeves had recused himself. Carla sent Mara a single exclamation point. 1. From Carla Torres, 47 active cases, communicated exclusively in declarative sentences, had never once used punctuation for anything beyond its grammatical function. Mara called her immediately. "It wasn't a mistake?" Mara asked. "It was not," Carla said. Her voice had the quality of someone holding something fragile in both hands. "The case is being reassigned. New judge by end of week." Stuart Gilman withdrew the following morning. Mara had expected this. Gilman was excellent precisely because he understood the difference between a difficult case and a sinking one. He'd stayed through the interim hearing. By Wednesday, he was gone. Brandon called that afternoon. First time in 4 months. She let it go to voicemail, waited 30 minutes before listening. 2 minutes and 12 seconds. The language of a man who wants something to disappear before it becomes a public record. Resolution. Best interests of Theo. Moving forward constructively. She had heard this tone before, not from Brandon, but from institutions, from people who had done something wrong and were now primarily concerned with the noise consequences would make. She forwarded it to Carla without a word. Carla replied in 3. "Do not engage." She didn't. She called Harrison. "Gilman withdrew," she said. "I know. Elaine monitors filings." A pause. "How do you feel?" She thought about it honestly. "Like I've been holding my breath for 8 months and I don't remember how to stop." "You will," he said. It takes a few days. Then, Mara, yes, I'd like to take you to dinner. Not a meeting, not coffee. Dinner. Somewhere you actually want to be. She looked out the window at the Bronx evening. Brooklyn, she said. Somewhere near the water. Saturday, he said. Saturday, she said. She put the phone down. For the first time in 8 months, the ground felt like it might hold. The final custody hearing was on a Thursday in December. The new judge was Honorable Patricia Ewan, 61 years old, former child welfare advocate, 9 years on the family court bench. Known, Carla had said it simply, for not being interested in performances. Brandon arrived with a replacement attorney, younger, less polished, visibly aware of what he'd inherited. Same navy suit, same measured concern. But the room was different the moment he walked in, and he was experienced enough to feel it. Carla presented. No theatrics, just 14 months of documented coordination, laid out in the precise language of someone who has been waiting a long time to say exactly this. The $15,000 payment to Sandra Peck, emails attached. The CPS tip filed from a Voss family LLC address. The trust fund, $800,000. Theo's inheritance, identified as the actual objective of the entire custody filing. Gerald Fetch's records, funded directly by Diane Voss, predating Brandon's attorney engagement by 6 months. The pattern across 12 years, 3 other women, 3 settlements, 1 consistent method. Brandon's replacement attorney received this with the neutral expression of someone who had never been shown on any of it before today. Judge Ewan read everything in complete silence. Then she looked at Brandon. Mr. Voss, do you wish to offer a statement regarding your relationship with your son? His attorney put a hand on his arm. My client will not be making a statement. Then I have enough, Judge Ewan said. The ruling took 11 minutes. Sole legal and physical custody. Mara Ellison. Brandon's parental rights suspended pending the state fraud investigation. Trustee notification issued, initiating disbursement of Theo's $800,000 trust. Gerald Fetch referred to the district attorney's office. Brandon did not look at Mara when it was over. He looked at the space in front of him, the expression of a man whose constructed persona had just been removed publicly and completely in 11 minutes by a woman with the correct evidence and the patience to wait for the right room. Mara walked out into a December morning, cold, clear, entirely ordinary in the way days are when something enormous has just happened inside them. Gloria was on the courthouse steps. She didn't speak. She opened her arms. Mara walked into them, not with the release of someone breaking, but with the quiet weight of someone who has held herself upright for a very long time and has finally been given permission to stop. Just for this moment. Marcus Cole had not expected to be found. He had spent 4 years building a story around the second page, one that had become structural. He acted to protect the trust, prevent legal complexity. He had acted reasonably. He believed this approximately 70% of the time. The other 30%, he didn't sleep. Harrison said 3 things when he called. He had the page. He had Garner's statement. He had engaged outside counsel to review every provision Marcus had benefited from since Anna died. Then, I'm not calling to threaten you. I'm calling because Anna's last words were taken from me for someone else's financial convenience. And I think you've known for 4 years that was wrong. A long silence. Yes, Marcus said. That was all. The legal review took 3 weeks. Marcus signed a formal acknowledgement. Trust provisions were restructured, ambiguous benefits redistributed, not criminal proceedings, not public. Just a quiet document with signatures, and the specific, durable weight of facing what you did without an audience to perform remorse for. Harrison closed it and never spoke of it again. That same week, Mara came to his apartment for the first time, looking for a pen. She tried the desk drawer. Inside, a wooden cigar box, open. And inside, visible without effort, a fold of paper she recognized before her eyes had finished reading it. Her own handwriting. 4 years ago. A night shift in a burning building. She didn't read it. She placed it back carefully, found a pen in the next drawer, closed both. That evening, after takeout at the kitchen table, she told him. "I saw the box," she said. "I didn't read it." He looked at her. "Would you let me read it to you?" "Yes," she said. He opened the box. He took out the second page, her handwriting, Anna's words, and read it aloud for the first time to the woman who had written it. Anna's voice, traveling 4 years through grief and a wrong number and one October afternoon with a 6-year-old who knew what a desk tie looked like, finally arrived where it had always been going. Stop managing. Let something good happen. You will be scared. Do it anyway. The apartment went quiet. "She was right," Mara said. "About which part?" "You called me back," she said softly. "That first morning. That wasn't managing. That was letting something happen. I was terrified," he said. "I know," she said. "That's how I knew it was real." The dress had been hanging on the bathroom door since Wednesday. Gloria had put it there without comment, her version of a very strong opinion. Deep green, the color of something that doesn't apologize for itself. Mara tried it on Thursday, looked in the mirror 4 seconds, and didn't touch it again until Saturday at 6. The River Cafe sat under the Brooklyn Bridge, where February light does things with the water that seem improbable until you're standing in front of them. Harrison was already there. He stood when she walked in. He looked at her in that dress for one moment before he caught himself. "Don't," she said. "Why?" "Because whatever you say, I've been worrying about this dress since Thursday, and your opinion is going to matter too much." He considered her. "You look like yourself," he said. "That's the best thing I know how to offer." She decided that was exactly right. They sat by the window. The bridge outside, enormous and lit, entirely unbothered by the 2 people beneath it. 3 hours. About Anna and the Maine summer. About her father, Robert Ellison, who drove 4 hours in a snowstorm with a casserole for a woman he'd never met, because Mara mentioned her at dinner, and he had simply gone. About Theo's cantilever theory, explained at a museum using only a hot chocolate cup and both hands. About the things both of them had stopped expecting. She had stopped expecting to be really seen, not evaluated, not admired, actually seen. The kitchen floor at 7 a.m. cereal standing up. The way she talked to Theo about missing people as proof of love. He had stopped expecting ordinary things, had become good at managing extraordinary ones. Quietly, over 4 years, stopped allowing himself to want anything without a clear purpose. "What do you want now?" she asked. He looked at her. The question between them, not weighted, not leading, just honest. "This," he said, "specifically." She reached across and held his hand, not dramatically, just the way you reach for something you've decided belongs to you. Later, walking the waterfront, "The door is open," she said. He exhaled, long and slow, the release of something held too long. February cold, his hand in hers, the bridge above them holding its light. At 9:47 p.m., her phone buzzed. "Theo, did you hold his hand?" she typed. "Go to sleep." 4 seconds. That means yes. She smiled all the way home. The consequences arrived without ceremony. Brandon Voss faced 14 counts filed by the Manhattan DA fraud. 4 years, 6 targets. His photograph appeared in the Times business section as a person whose history had become a record he could not edit. Scarsdale home listed for sale. Diane Voss issued 3 sentences of remorse. It satisfied no one. Gerald Fetch surrendered his license. Sandra Peck lost hers in March. The inconclusive notation in Mara's file was formally removed. She accepted a role at Street Vincent's, where the floor chief had recruited her specifically, and where that word had never been used as a weapon. Priya was promoted. The trust disbursement processed in spring. $800,000 in Theo's name. Mara signed the paperwork at her kitchen table and thought about her father, who had set this aside quietly, without announcement, as an act of faith in people who would come after him. He was right about them. Harrison proposed on a Tuesday evening in April. He had planned Saturday, a speech, a location, the ring in his coat since February. But on Tuesday, he was at the apartment, and Theo was explaining structural theory with the salt shaker and a folded napkin, and Gloria was in the kitchen pretending not to listen, and Mara was laughing. The full, unguarded laugh she kept for moments when she forgot to be careful. Harrison understood that Saturday was never going to be better than this. He reached into his coat pocket, the same coat that had been carrying a sparrow drawing since October. He placed the ring box on the table. Theo stopped talking. Gloria appeared in the doorway. Mara looked at the box, then at Harrison. "I had a speech," he said. "It's gone." "That's fine," she said quietly. "Will you marry me?" Theo, observing with full structural assessment, said, "She's going to say yes." "Theo," Mara said. "The answer is load-bearing," he said, with the certainty of someone needing no supporting evidence. "She's been building toward it for months." Mara looked at her son, then at Harrison. Then she said yes. Gloria turned back to the kitchen and picked up a dish towel, her way of giving them their moment while being entirely unable to hide that she had known since approximately the 3rd phone call. Harrison slid the ring onto her finger. "It's right," she said. "I looked for a long time," he said. She knew he meant more than the ring. He had. Looked for a long time. She had stayed. Those were, it turned out, the same story. And so the story ends. But hey, if you're still here right now, I want you to know something. The fact that you stayed all the way to this moment tells me this story touched something real in you. Maybe it wasn't Mara's story. Maybe it was yours. Because here's what I think this story was really about. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Mara didn't control what Brandon did. She didn't control the judge, the system, or the timing of a wrong number. What she controlled was this. She didn't let the injustice make her into someone smaller. And Epictetus said, "Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens." She showed up, every single day, with the cereal on the counter and the good blazer and the hands that learned not to shake. That's not weakness surviving. That's strength. Quiet, load-bearing, real. And Harrison? He stopped managing. He let something good happen. Maybe that's the thing worth carrying today. If this story meant something to you, like it, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe so you never miss the next one. We'll see you there. This story is a work of fiction created purely for entertainment and emotional storytelling purposes. All characters, including Mara Ellison, Harrison Cole, Theo, Brandon Voss, Diane Voss, and all others, are entirely fictional. Any resemblance to real persons, living or deceased, is purely coincidental and unintentional. All events, locations, institutions, legal proceedings, and dialogue depicted in this story are imaginary and do not represent real events, real legal cases, or real organizations. St. Vincent's Hospital, Mercy General, Cole Capital, Brooklyn Family Court interactions, and all other named entities in this narrative are used fictionally and are not intended to represent their real-world counterparts. This channel is dedicated to original creative fiction, stories designed to explore themes of resilience, justice, love, and the human experience. We believe in the power of storytelling to heal, inspire, and connect people across all walks of life. Thank you for watching with an open heart.